Welcome, Kailua Keiki. This is an Easter egg. It has nothing to do with our Sabbath school at all, but it's pretty cool looking. Inside this Easter egg is a baby chicken, losing its head. But what I was going to tell you about the chick, if it ever gets out of there it is, chick. There is a town in Alaska that is named Chicken. Now, I think Chicken is a pretty interesting name for a town, and this is just a teeny tiny little town. So I looked it up to figure out, why would a town be named Chicken? And this is what I discovered. There is a town in Alaska that is named Chicken because the residents were going to call it ptarmigan, but they didn't think anyone would know how to spell ptarmigan. So they named it Chicken instead. Speaking of ptarmigans, this is a tale of one ptarmigan that changes. Can you even spot them? Kind of hard, isn't it? And that is the point.
Not really.
During the winter, ptarmigans are white, like this, so that they blend in to the snow all around them. So they change their feathers in the winter. In the summer, ptarmigans are kind of a spotted brown, sort of like this, because in the summer, the ground's all muddy and maybe there may be some little brown trees, and they just kind of blend nicely in with the grasses and shrubs and ground when they're brown. So the ptarmigan has a different set of feathers for different seasons. Now, the reason we are talking about ptarmigans today is that it is pretty good that birds and some other animals too change what they look like to blend in better in different seasons. But sometimes we shouldn't change during different seasons. Sometimes we need to hold firm to what we believe no matter what. And today we're going to hear about a very rich guy who was, in a way, kind of had a lot of bad things happen to him. And his name was Job. And the important thing about Job is that even though a lot of things changed in his life, just like sometimes in Alaska or other places the ptarmigan lives, it goes from not snowy to very snowy on the ground. Job's life changed a lot too. But even though his life changed a lot, he did not change. He remembered that God was his God, even with all the changes in his life, and showed how faithful he could be even when life wasn't going good. The story of Job starts not with Job, but in heaven, where the archangel Michael, God, is talking to Satan, maybe some of his followers, and maybe other people from around. In the Bible, it says the princes of the world got together in a meeting. And I am not sure why God brought Job up, but God did. God said, "Hey, Satan, you know, in your domain down there on earth, have you noticed my servant Job? My servant Job is such a good guy. Isn't it nice that people serve me even in your domain?" And Satan said, "Ha! I don't think that's good at all. The only reason he serves you is because you have put a hedge around him." So what would that mean? This is the idea of a fence. You see, you might put your animal, or in this case, God had put Job, inside of a fence, which meant that nothing really bad could get at him. In this case, it's a Yeti. Job was never attacked by Yetis, but Anyway, it shows the example of how the Yeti is like, I can't get to you because there's a fence in the way. So that's what Satan was saying that God had done for Job. What Satan was really saying here is that God was unfair. And he said, since God, you are so unfair, of course Job worships you. Well, we know that God is always fair and that he always loves us. So he said, Job will not have that fence around him. You can do what you wish with him, but do not kill him. Now this is Job and his wife in front of their lovely house. And Job, like I said, was a very rich man. God had given him many wonderful things. He had given him 10 children who he loved dearly and took really good care of. And every time they did anything, Job did a sacrifice for them just to make sure that in case one of them sinned, he would be forgiven, because Job was really concerned that all of his children be in heaven with him, I'm guessing. And so Job really loved his children. And then he also had all of these different animals. In this story, we'll say horses, ostriches, elephants, camels, and cows. But we'll just pretend this way. So Job had a lot of stuff. And he was, of course, very happy with his stuff. But he was also happy to be a son of God. But then one day, everything kind of changed. First, he heard that thieves had stolen all of his ostriches and his horses and his elephant. Oh no, that's not good at all. Well, at least I have some cows, he told his wife. But then later on, fire came and burned up the cows, I think is what happened. And so the cows were all burned up and dead. And then later on, somebody else came and stole his camel. Now, Job did not have anything at all. He was no longer rich. He was a poor man.
But he didn't have any animals.
He still had his family, and he was happy about that. Then one day, something bad happened. All the kids were having a party together when a freak tornado struck, picked up the houses they were in, and the houses came down on top of them, along with a giant Easter egg. Oh no! All of Job's children died. So of course Job was very, very sad. But even so, he did not say anything bad against God. He said, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So Satan and God met up once again. And God said, have you considered my servant Job, who even though all those terrible things happened to him, still loves me and has not cursed me? And Satan said, ha, he doesn't care about any of those things. All he cares about is his own skin. Let me hurt him, and he will not be a good guy anymore. And God said, okay, but just remember, don't kill him. So Satan made Job have these terrible boils all over him. And they hurt, and they itched, and they were so uncomfortable. And Job just sat there miserable. And his wife came in and she said, hey, why are you still serving God? Look at what he's done to you. Just curse God. Die already. This is so not fun. Because, of course, she was very sad about everything happening also. But Job said, you know, we've always trusted that God gave us the good things. Should we complain if he gives us bad things? And he still did not say anything bad against God. Now, it happened that Job had 3 friends. And they came to try to make him feel better. But when they saw him and they saw how terrible everything had happened in his life, and they were used to Job being rich and able to do things, none of them even knew what to say. So they just all sat quietly for many days. And then finally, one of them said, "Well, you know, Job, I'm really sorry this happened to you, but maybe now is a good time to say you're sorry. And then maybe God will forgive you." And the other guy said, yeah, you must have done something really wrong, or this wouldn't have happened to you. So you need God to forgive you. And Job said, no, I didn't do anything wrong. This isn't fair. This isn't something that I got because I was punished. This is just something that happened. And his friend said, come on, like everyone makes mistakes. It's okay, but you need to just tell God you're sorry and then it will all be better. And Job said, but I can't be sorry because I didn't do anything wrong. And of course, none of these guys knew about Satan and what he was doing to Job, because he was trying to prove that God was not lovable. So Job would not change his mind about God no matter what. And he showed that people can love God and don't have to change or as our circumstances change. But we can stand firm and still believe, even when things are really not good, that somehow God will work it out. Job said, I know my Redeemer lives. And I think that's so important, because he said, I still know there's a God. Even if all this happened, I still know, and I'm still going to trust, even with all this. And you know what happened at the end? All these guys kept saying, oh, no, you're wrong. But then, God actually came and spoke to them. And he told Job, I know you feel that this isn't fair, but you don't know everything that has been going on. Because Job didn't know about Satan. And he said, but all your friends, they shouldn't have talked to you like that, because they didn't know what you'd done either, and they were making bad assumptions. And that is what God said. And then it says in the Bible that God restored Job and gave him back everything that he had lost. And so God healed Job. And pretty soon he started having more and more children, until he once again had 10 children, 7 sons and 3 daughters. And the Bible says that he ended up with twice as much as he had before. So he had even more animals. Even maybe got a reindeer or some ptarmigan, or maybe not. But he had lots of things. He couldn't even fit them. Some of the horses were on the roof.
Or one horse.
Or one horse was on the roof. Job lived long and saw his grandchildren and had a very good life after that kind of terrible middle of his life. But God was with him even in the good times, even in the bad times. And Job continued to believe that God would be with him at all times. Our memory verse today is, I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. And even though it seemed like God had abandoned Job, he was still with him. He was still taking care of him. And God made sure that Job was okay, even when Satan was doing really bad, terrible things. I'm so glad that God just keeps taking care of us. And I want you all to remember, even when you're not happy, even when things happen that make you upset or angry or scared or tired, that God is still with you. So continue to remember him no matter what. Thank you.